I'm a son Hyperion, and this is KevinKoolx, and this is Let's Argue. Let's Argue is a series where we hop on Twitter and engage in your hot Halo takes, your normal ideas, and your crazy opinions. We agree or disagree and explain why. And I'm saying we, it's normally just me, but today on episode 10 of Let's Argue, I'm joined by the one and only KevinKoolx, master of Halo news and reporting, and an expert guitar player, much more than me. In fact, I can play no instruments. I have no musical talent, and I've always hated that about myself. I cannot engage in instruments, so it's always cool. Kevin bounces back randomly. He's like, "Oh, here's my new Halo video," and also here's me just ripping through a fucking song. Because why not? Right. So.
Oh yeah. No, I've been playing guitar since I got it as a Christmas gift back in 2001, and just been playing ever since. Really, ever since I got like this orange Eddie Van Halen signature guitar like about 6-8 months ago or something like that, and been loving it.
So usually on Let's Argue, I have a new beer, and that is definitely the case for today and for Kevin as well. Kevin, why don't you tell them what you got first, because it's probably a little fancier than what I've got in my hand.
I'm starting out. I'm drinking out of my Hufflepuff mug, or cup, I guess you call it, because I am a true, to the core Hufflepuff house member, I guess is the proper way to say it. Super excited for the Harry Potter game, by the way. And I'm also drinking some Johnny Utah Pale Ale from Georgetown Brewery here in Seattle. Definitely highly suggest if you're in Seattle to check out their stuff. All of it's good.
Yeah, man, power to you. So Kevin, he's got a local brew, and I've got an import. If you another win for the Mexican and Hyperion viewers and the South American and the Southern U.S. viewers. This is a Victoria, which is another Mexican beer, and I grabbed it off the same shelf I grabbed the Asahi from, or the Asahi I got last time.
This is like a lager kind of thing.
It says Cerveceria Modelo Mexico. Cerveceria, which I guess is probably Spanish for brewery. I think cervezo is Spanish for beer. I'll probably get a Spanish check in the comments on that. I'm just gonna imagine a cerveceria is a brewery, and I thought Modelo was a type of, or was like a beer brand, but apparently it's something else too. So
and that was my eyes too on that one. I was like, Modelo. Oh, I guess I thought that was a brand. I guess it's just a word.
Somebody with knowledge, inform us in the comments below.
Yeah.
This first take here is from Spectral. He said, "Here's an opinion. Halo isn't being made for the fans anymore. It's being made to reach the wider casual Fortnite / Warzone / Apex Legends audience. This isn't just the games, but the TV show as well." Kevin, you are the away team, so you get to go first.
Okay, well, I would say absolutely not. It's definitely, like, after playing Halo Infinite for a while, I'm like, this is, to me, it just feels like if Halo 3 was created in 2021. Like, it just feels, the multiplayer experience to me, it just feels super Halo. And like, kind of like, also like, remember like the early quotes I remember from Jeff Grubb when he had like preview of like the game, whatever, said Halo is basically gonna be a Halo-ass Halo game. And I feel like we kind of got that in a way where we're like there's not really any crazy new game modes. It's pretty standard for Halo. The gameplay feels very Halo-like, and they got praised for that at first. Now we're just kind of waiting on stuff to do. Like, if you wanted to make it a game that was following like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex, would it be a battle royale? It would have that in the game at day one, or it would follow like other trends, like a hero shooter or something like that. But I still feel like the way Halo, if it's especially the multiplayer, that it launched in a way that was very true to Halo, obviously with updates of like sprint, clamber, sliding, and stuff like that, but still felt very Halo. So I think it's definitely made for a larger audience, with it being free to play as well. Like, that's kind of the design of it as well, trying to make it easier to access. But it still, to me, feels very much like a Halo game. It feels more like a Halo game than Halo 4 or Halo 5 did, or even Halo Reach.
I agree. I don't think I explicitly agree with what's being said here. Because if you're saying it's being made for a wider audience, like Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Warzone, which, mind you, are three very different games to start with. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot to unpack there. I'm pretty sure those three games, even amongst each other, appeal to very different audiences. Now, as far as the TV show goes, I don't know who the TV show is made to appeal to. I don't know if it's Halo fans. I don't even think it's people who like TV.
Really? You're just not a fan of the show.
No, the Halo TV show is
No?
something funny to me. It's not winning. It's not winning in my book. We'll put it like that. But at any rate, Halo isn't being made for Halo fans anymore. I just don't understand what that's supposed to mean, really. Because what that implies is like every Halo game prior to this one was extremely like niched out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is implying that all Halos prior to Infinite were really combined in some limited niche. And I think one of the things Halo has always done, even between its earliest iterations, is change greatly. Like the Halo series is no stranger to making large, palpable changes in between titles. So I don't think what Halo Infinite is doing in its design is any too different. And in fact, see, now you compared it to Halo 3, and I don't even agree with that.
Oh, really?
I pretty strongly feel that Halo Infinite is the Diet Reclaimer era. It's full of Reclaimer and Reach mixed in, which from a certain perspective you could call Reclaimer based on some of its properties too. But
Yeah.
I think it takes way more from Reach, Halo 4, and Halo 5 than it does from Halos 1 through 3. And it just kind of waters down or removes some of the more extreme things people had gripes about. But even at the end of the day, that still makes it, that still makes it the culmination of 3 other Halo games, even at that. So to say it's not made for Halo fans.
I can see your point on that one too, where like, I feel like the kind of just like we're like, okay, let's just like tone down all like the really crazy stuff that we've taken from other games, just kind of stick to like what's core to the Halo experience. I feel when it comes to the multiplayer side of things and just general gameplay. But you kind of touched on this previously, where like between each game there were such wide swings of like different types of ways to interpret Halo. Where I think maybe that's kind of like why 343 is going with like the live service model, where they don't have to keep on innovating the gameplay. Because I honestly feel that like the gameplay peaked during Halo 3. Like I feel like they found like what is a good mix of weapons and gameplay and movements and hit detection and all that stuff with Halo 3, in my opinion. And then after that, we're like, well, we can't just release Halo 3.5. Okay, how are we gonna change it up to make it look like a new game? Oh, okay, we'll do Halo Reach then with like Bloom, and it's a DMR this time, and you have Sprint and all these different abilities and things like that. Where if they maybe even did like a live service back then, if they could for like Halo 3, they'd probably just have more maps and more game modes and stuff like that, like more iterative rather than inventive to the gameplay.
And then I'm trying to think, what does Halo Infinite do that could be perceived as a reach into these 3 other games? And I don't and not just that, but what is something Halo Infinite is now doing that's new in Infinite that somehow reaches these 3 audiences? Can you think of anything that Infinite is doing new that explicitly applies to these people?
I would say being free to play. I think that when they see tags of free to play and when they see a battle pass in the game, they start just making these assumptions that like, well, what are other free to play games that have a battle pass progression? Those games, and so I can see that, but that, to me, it doesn't really warrant it being like their copy. Not necessarily that they're trying to grab those people. Obviously they want to, because there are other FPS fans or shooter fans that could potentially like Halo as well. But just because you're free to play, just because you have a battle pass, does not mean you're like copying. It's just like updating models, basically, standards.
I agree, and that's the thing. Gamers, grown men, this is the word we use, grown men, are so sensitive to this change in the industry. And I think the funny part for me, because even I, a certain amount of years ago, was really sensitive about the whole free-to-play, battle royale, game, like battle pass thing. And now that some time has passed, I think what I've come to realize, like this new age of this free-to-play live service thing is probably pretty akin to when multiplayer games made the really big shift from like local play to multiplayer online. And think about how much that changed the landscape of multiplayer games, of co-op games. You almost can't envision a modern video game without some level of co-op or multiplayer. Even a game like Elden Rings, which is a single player game, has elements of multiplayer built in where you can view the ghosts of other players and they can leave you messages. Multiplayer online connectivity is still ingrained into a single player game.
Oh yeah.
So this this new age of free to play, live service, battle royale, game, battle pass. I'm not saying it's like good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a similar shift in the market, in the industry. And I don't think a change in the industry is reflective of a change in, like, I don't know. That's not you appealing to a new fan base.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Or even you talk about integrating multiplayer online experience. We experienced that crossover in Halo, from Combat Evolved to Halo 2.
Yes, in Halo 2.
And we saw, like, before that, like, at least from my circle, when I used to play Combat Evolved all the time with my friends, we would system link in my mom's basement all the time, capture flag, Blood Gulch, 24/7. Like, that's all we did, pretty much. It was awesome. But the thing, it's like when you went to online, you went from, like, just trying to be the best among your friends to being the best online kind of thing. So it just really changes your perspective of how you interact with the game. I would love to see, like, some, maybe if Max Hoverman can, like, kind of reach in to see, like, what the differences were, how people interacted with Halo's multiplayer, with the integration of multiplayer. I mean, yeah, like the clan system and stuff like that, where people creating clans and culture around the game because of multiplayer with this interconnectivity.
It comes down almost, I hate to use the word in regards to gaming, but then it starts to form out a demographic. If you are, we had formative year experience with that day and age change. If you were like maybe 10 or 11, 12, 13, 14, during the time of where multiplayer became like the norm, you probably have really fond and ingrained memories of that stuff, of clans and of like, your Xbox chat and all this stuff. So then you have to take that and flip it. Well, what if you were 10, 11, 12, 13 in the age of free to play, in the age of battle royale, if in the age of people, you don't have like Tobuscus and PewDiePie, you have like Ninja and what's that guy's name? Not Taz, but I forget it. Tim the Tap Man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
like, whoever Taz is. So, is 343 probably eyeing out pulling in some younger blood to the franchise? I sure should hope so. I think I've said that before. Like, dude, at some point they got to stop making this game for me, because regardless of how much I like Halo, I probably won't buy the next one because I'm getting old. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit's gonna happen. I barely have time to play the game now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a content creator. I'm like a face in the community. And I'm saying, like, dude, I get like 5 hours for this shit a week anyway. Here's the summation of it. I disagree. There it is. There it is.
Yeah, I disagree as well.
So that's a double disagree. Yeah. Yuri Nikoliv says, a lot of what the Halo community considers the golden age and or peak of Halo was mostly due to Halo having a monopoly on the FPS genre. Like, can you really compare the early Call of Duties to Halo 2? But by 2010, Halo's competition had cemented themselves. I misread that. Halo's decline was inevitable with or without 343. Oh man. I really do agree. And this take, while not expressly saying it, I think acknowledges something that a lot of gamers, especially, I'm assuming our age, I don't know how old you are, and I won't have you put your age out there, I won't put mine out there, but if you're around, you think me and KevinKool's age, you probably think that, yeah, Halo was like the top dog shit, and what you don't remember is probably how more thin the competition was back then. There was less saturation. I think in gaming overall, in the last 15 years, the amount of games has blown up. I think almost a nauseating amount. Like when I browse through like Steam's sales, I'm always left to wonder, like, one, who the fuck is playing these games? And then two, who's making them?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, there's no way people have enough time to play like some like indie shooter of somebody, which could be a really great game, but just like you have to compete against games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex, Halo, even as well, and all the other really popular shooter like AAA shooters with like massive publishing budgets behind them. It's like crazy to think about. Like people are still passionate enough to make these kind of games.
The key word for me there is saturation. And then not just saturation. Saturation, what I'm talking about, like the total volume of games competing for your limited gaming time. But then you dial the clock back, and you have to put Halo back in its little playpen that it was in. In modern day, Halo is now competing on virtually all platforms that isn't, a PlayStation. Or it's competing on both Xbox and on PC, which is a really wide market to be fighting in. But back in the day, it was just competing on the Xbox, Xbox and Xbox 360, and I guess the Xbox One. What I'm saying is Halo had a lot greater chance of being popular because it was fighting a smaller crowd. And this guy mentioned it, back in Halo 2 days, as a shooter, Halo 2 was extremely stand out because no one's really making games like that. I think that that's part of what Halo CE gets so much praise for reeling the first-person genre to a new level, especially with Halo 2 taking it to a multiplayer stance and showing how successful a multiplayer shooter game can be. But by Halo 3's time, you're talking about, you're competing with games like Modern Warfare 2. You've got Battlefield really swinging hard in there, especially if you get a little forward onto like Bad Company 2 or to Battlefield 3, games like that, Battlefield 4. In the time, I would say Halo, COD, and Battlefield were definitely the big three. And that big three came into play right around 2007, right around Halo 3. And Halo 3 was popular, no one doubts that. But as time passes, it's like this guy says, decline is inevitable if you want to use the word decline. I don't think it's necessarily decline. There's just more to play. People aren't as interested. They're going to throw all their time into one game. And now gaming has become so widely accessible. And I don't want to go on too long. I'm going to let you go after this. But what I will say, think about this really too. When you were 12, 13, 14, when you were gaming, 15, 16, when you were gaming on Xbox 360 and Xbox One maybe even, you were not the person buying the games. It was mom or dad. You know what I'm saying?
Very
so
true. Mom
and dad were only going to buy you like one of these fuck-ass games every couple months. But that's what my dad would say. But now you are probably an adult with your own income. I sure should hope so. And you are probably more liable to like, I'll buy it. This is new. I'll buy it. I'll buy it. There's this. I'll buy it. So now adult gamers who grew up in this era where games used to be far less saturated, they ironically are probably contributing to the high saturation as they now will just acquire games at their own will. I'll let you go on that. That's that. I started snowballing into a bunch of different thoughts there.
I guess I would slightly agree actually with this, that I think the decline in popularity would be inevitable. Not because of like poor games or something like that. I think if there's ever game release was just like Halo 3 again and everyone just loves Halo over and over again, I think just you'll see that decline just kind of go down with like people just are maybe just tired of the experience of playing a Halo game, that was actually one of my biggest fears with Halo Infinite's release. Like people are like, we want to see the game as big as these top 5 shooters out there with like hundreds of thousands, millions of people playing per day. I'm like, but the thing is, like, we kind of know what to expect out of a Halo game. We've all played Halo. It's been around for 20 years. It's a really old franchise for gaming side of things, especially for shooters. That like people have already had a chance to play Halo and they've experienced it, and maybe just they probably had fun with it then and just kind of got tired with it and played something else that was like a different type of experience and might come back to play Halo for like the nostalgia or occasionally play, but. I think just like if you over time like the novelty of Halo will wane and then lower the population overall, but it's like it was a little bit of that with also coupled with like not so fantastic games by the liked by the community over the last like 10 years that the population of Halo or popularity of Halo has certainly dropped, but I say partially yes that the decline might be due to just like over time people like lose interest, and also with less favorable games but in games being released themselves. But
time is such an important word there.
Yeah.
Time. It's that saying. This is a saying I really do believe in when you talk about almost anything. It's this too shall come to pass. You know what I'm saying? We often as Halo fans criticize the Halo franchise for changing dynamically, and we often say that is the reason Halo has declined. I mean, I want to point off to Call of Duty, for example, which notoriously had virtually no real iteration, and there's two games that really come to mind as a very key example of this. Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. I mean, from a design standpoint, from an actual gameplay experience, these two games are, almost identical. There's minor differences between them and some changes, but the experience between the two changes virtually none. These two games are still highly debated amongst Call of Duty fans, as like one is better than the other, and it usually goes in favor of Modern Warfare 2. You know what I'm saying? Where people still found a way to like the older game more.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think even if Halo had not iterated, had not changed, you probably still would have been in the situation we are now. People are like, oh, but Halo 3 was better.
Oh, yeah, it definitely would have happened. It definitely would have happened for sure.
That's the crazy thing to think about for me. I mean, time's important. I mean, what do you expect? But, here's the thing, too. And people may call me crazy for saying this. I mean, what does it matter if Halo isn't on top? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't play Halo because it was on top. Were you playing Halo because it was on top?
I was playing because it was a really fun game.
Yeah, I don't know. Halo fans are obsessed with recreating a feeling and an experience and an emotion. I think that's true of gamers, and I think it's probably true of a lot of people my age too, in the general sense, just with trying to recreate past emotions.
Right.
But it feels like it's a misguided thing. Like, what you should want first and foremost is, probably success within Halo, and that success does not have to be we're on top. You know what I mean?
I never expected us to be like the top shooter out there. Maybe, because like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone, like in like this stratosphere, like absurd level that like really isn't like that sustainable in popularity. It will definitely wane over time. At least I would think so.
Well, hey man, I don't know. Fortnite, people keep dogging on Fortnite, man. I think Fortnite's one of the most successful games of all time. I don't even think that you probably prove it, like, objectively. That game's success is unreal. And think about it, Fortnite is not a new game anymore. What if Fortnite's fucking, what was it, 2020, 2015?
Yeah.
2016? That game's old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
By like,
yeah, people are saying like, oh, Battle Royale is a trend. Like, dude, it's been around for like half a decade.
Yeah, a trend, dude. We're getting up on like 7 years of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's here to stay. It's a fun mode. It's here to stay. It's gonna be up there with like team deathmatch modes that you have in every shooter. Oh yeah, that this type of thing. It's like looking in a mirror, man. We have our perceptions of what was popular and what was on top, and then there's a new wave of it, and eventually that'll fall off. It'll be cool to see what comes next.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I make it that far into my gamer experience. I've got no idea what's gonna come next because I thought the multiplayer arena shooter thing was never gonna end. Mm-hmm.
Right, and now that in general is kind of like waned in popularity.
Yeah, I mean
that's
waned out. What's after Battle Royale? God, who knows? So wait, all right. I'm voting agree. Where are you gonna swing on it?
I agree. Yes, I agree that the decline was going to happen as the popularity of shooters was going to expand. Since Halo basically cemented shooters on console, so that was going to explode, and then. There's some other dev team is going to make something else that's really awesome that people are also going to really want to play. And that's exactly what happened.
The Sentinel Spartan says, Halo 3 ODST's story/whole campaign is one of the best in the series, from everything ranging from the storytelling to atmosphere, weapon sandbox, everything is well balanced. It goes to show you don't need Master Chief in every Halo game.
Kevin, I like how you could barely make through reading that without like cracking out while reading that.
Oh,
not to be disrespectful to that question,
not
to be disrespectful to the question or ODST fans out there, but it's like I like how you can just barely keep a straight face while reading that. But I guess for me, I would disagree on that one pretty wholeheartedly, as I actually would say that ODST is I don't really even consider it like a full Halo game. It's more kind of like, it's really meant to be, it was meant to be an expansion to Halo 3, but then Microsoft's like, but what if we charge more money for it?
Kevin, I got in a lot of trouble for saying that. I've said that before, and people didn't like it.
But I would say, and especially I had a renewed understanding of ODST once it came to PC, so I actually like sat through, played it, and actually like tried to do all the things within the campaign and stuff like that. And after playing it, I was like, you know what, this actually might be my least favorite Halo game. Honestly.
Oh.
It might actually just be. I mean, the campaign is good. The atmosphere you talk about, yes, is very well done for what they were trying to accomplish. But I find like the story and the characters within it are just not that intriguing to me or anything. Maybe it's just because like I'm so used to Halo being like save the universe kind of, you know, save the galaxy kind of stuff, that I don't mind telling like smaller stories like this. I think it was rather compelling, but I just found like the gameplay to be kind of boring and the campaign not that exciting. Like the open world that they had for ODST wasn't really that interesting and rather empty, which again would make sense with like what happened within the setting, but gameplay wise I kind of dread the idea of playing through ODST's campaign. But Firefight's awesome.
Oh well, that makes one of us. let me say this: Halo ODST's thematics are some of my favorite in the franchise. Where one of the things I really enjoy about Halo from a sci-fi story perspective is how one of its main gimmicks is that humanity is not advanced. Halo, when people say Halo is grounded, I usually often disagree depending on what they're saying, but where I think Halo is grounded is like reeling in the sci-fi narrative in the original trilogy a little bit. And I think ODST does a good job at combining things that are believably futuristic while still kind of showing we haven't really come that far. Like automated street barriers. Okay, I totally buy that. No problem. Okay, for sure.
Okay.
A guy is still selling fucking kebabs on the street. You know? You mean then that would not go away. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of future stories, it would always be like, here is a robot dispensing the kebab. But no shit, I guarantee you, in Africa, 500 years from now, there will be a fat guy selling kebabs outside the largest super city on the planet. Like, no cap. That it's the small things like that I really enjoy about ODST. And then what I really like about it too is its visuals. I think it's one of the strongest visual experiences in a Halo game that not just like, it's not like an RTX on type thing. I think it takes advantage of how good Halo 3's lighting engine was for the age. Mm-hmm. And not just the lighting engine, but like, and it's something, like with modern gaming, we're so obsessed with hyper realism. And I think what ODST does well is it focuses on making its style look good rather than making it look real. You know what I mean? Mm. Yeah, visually it's great to look at. And of course the music is great. Mm. From a writing perspective, oh my God. It's like a 12-year-old wrote this shit.
Oh man.
When I replayed it the last time, when I got to the part where Buck was like, if you ever meet a woman, make sure she has balls. Like, I think I actually cringed. I think I paused the game and like stood, like I walked away. I could not like be a part of that experience anymore. And then it's not just, it's all the interactions between the characters. It's all like, everybody wants a one-liner. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's the worst one-liner you've ever fucking heard. And then, yeah, you know, from a gameplay perspective, it's short, it's a little shallow, it's repetitive, and Firefight, and this is, again, a bias of mine, I do not like Firefight. Like, Firefight is so boring. Like, oh, want me to stand in a corner with my silent SMG and I'll keep shooting, and that brute, maybe his armor will break. You know, like...
Yeah.
I agree with the last bit. It does show a Halo game can exist without the Master Chief. That much I agree with. And again, I think that's independent of the writing. Like, sure, the characters I think are written terribly, but it's more so the story being told and the depth it adds to the Halo universe.
I think, definitely with like Reach and ODST, definitely showed that you can't write a Halo game without Master Chief. especially with the books, have definitely shown that easily that you can write a good book without it involving the Master Chief at all. Especially since now we've kind of like written into like the lore of Halo that like you can just kind of become a Spartan after Spartan Force. Because if you just like raise your hand up, you can become a Spartan basically. Obviously, there's more to it with lore-wise, but like basically you kind of like, yeah, I want to be one. They go, okay, here you go, here's a needle, bam, there you go, now you're a Spartan, you know. But like so, like you can definitely write stories now with just like as many Spartans as you want. Where previously that was an issue because like they even stated it back in C that you were the last Spartan that made you a special character. So that's why like you had to be Master Chief. But then bring in like ODST, you start playing as other Spartans in Reach, and then start bringing these other characters in Halo 4 and Halo Reach as well. Where like, you know, you kind of started to open the door for Halo games without the Master Chief, which I think would be a fun way to expand on the Halo experience. I said disagree. Sure. On this one. Well, first half about ODST, but then agreed on the opening the door for other characters.
Yeah, I think I'll use another one of the, I used this before, but I'll use the disagree with the dis and the parentheses and the...
yeah, that's kind of how it is. Yeah, it's very much how it is.
Kevin, thank you for joining me on another episode of Let's Argue. If you guys want to follow Kevo, all his links are below for his YouTube and his Twitter is what I'll put in there, and I guess I'll throw an Instagram too. I think you have one, so we'll put that in there. If you enjoyed the video today, be sure to like it, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and leave your comments below on the takes in the video, and then our takes on the takes, or you know, I don't know, leave a comment with the word grape.
Yeah.
And then I'll really know that you were in for the long haul.
Yeah, that was the real ones. Well, no, if you see grape in the comments, you'll know that those are the real ones in the chat.
Killer. With that, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.